The minute someone says, let's take it slow, let's see where this goes, you're not the one. You're the one filling the placeholder till someone else comes along. When a man's genuinely serious about long-term commitment, know within 90 days whether or not she's someone he's willing to go the distance with. I say this because every man I know that's in a happy relationship knew it early on. Conscious, spiritual people who are really evolved don't need a long, protracted dating process. A guy who's aligned to who you are and what you want, and he is emotionally mature, and you share the same values, and your lifestyle is blendable, he's going to want to do it within a very short period of time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Jill Collins Connections. We are here today with one of the most amazing guests. I know I say this every time, but I'm telling you, this is amazing. I am so dang excited today. We have Jonathan Aslay with us. Jonathan is one of America's leading midlife dating and relationships coaches. And for those of you who know me, being single in midlife, this relates to me. And I have so many friends, and those of you that are watching have this exact same situation. So it's just exciting. I can't wait for you to hear from him today. He has written a couple of books, one which I really love. I just started diving into called Self-Love. And what the heck is self-love anyway? But really, where I first found him and is on YouTube. Thank God for YouTube, and thank God for you and people out there who are posting and have the courage to share their stories and their knowledge and expertise. He has 157,000 subscribers on YouTube, and he really specializes in how women can understand men, how to attract love and create partnership. So I want to just go ahead and open it up and thank you again for being here, and let's get started.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much. Let's get started.
All right, let's go. Because you know what we did? I asked several of my friends and people that I know that are in this phase of life, what is it that you need to know about dating? What should I ask Jonathan? And so I have a lot of questions for you. I know you love answering questions. So let's get right into it. The question I always get, and my background with the dating and my matchmaking service is, gosh, where are the best places to meet men? It's particularly in midlife.
They're not hanging out on some street corner. So when I get this question, I'll be candid with you, it frustrates me because the answer isn't something where I can just say, oh, they're all hanging out at this address. The whole 160 million men are hanging out right there. So it's rather than the question of where are the men, the real question is, how do I attract a partner that's really aligned to who I am and what I want? That would be a question that has some more validity as
Mm.
opposed to where they are. Now, with that said, though, the fact is these days, 50% or more of all new relationships are happening through an online connection of some sort, whether it's connecting through social media or connecting through a dating app. That's where most people are meeting for the most part. And that's probably going to be in the 60, 70, and 80% range as millennials and Gen Zs take over because that's their method of connecting. For those of us in midlife, and I always say midlife is after baby making years and before retirement. So my audience tends to be somewhere between the age of 42 and 69 as a general rule. Online dating is still one of the most popular places to connect. And at the same time, it's a very dysfunctional way of meeting
Because I have some questions
because we're
on that to get to that point. Yeah.
yeah, because when we're meeting total strangers, it relies heavily on traction just to get the balls rolling, just to get it moving. And it doesn't contemplate shared values, blendable lifestyles, and emotional maturity. And particularly when I say emotional maturity, that's one of the most significant areas of pre qualifying, ideally, what we need to be focused on. And I say need to be focused on because we are swimming in a sea of dysfunctionality as human beings, particularly in their capacity to be emotionally mature and, more importantly, have relationship skills. So, okay, that was a short little rant. I'm sure you have
Mhm.
something to say.
I do, because I have a whole section on dating apps, so I want to definitely cover that. But I had get this question is, how do I know what I truly want? I think I want a committed relationship and maybe to eventually marry again, but I don't, beyond that, I just don't know. How do I get that going where I figure out what I want? Because otherwise I'm just playing
Well,
defense. Everybody that comes at me, I don't know what I want.
okay, this is a great question. I have women coming to me all the time for private coaching. Jonathan, I know what I want. I know what I want. I know what I want in a relationship. Now, what's fascinating to me after doing this for over a decade and a half and have over 20,000 hours of coaching, I can tell you women come to me. I know what I want. Then they go through this proprietary coaching program I create. And can you guess, Jill, what they say every single time afterwards?
I didn't know what I want. Now I do.
Why didn't they teach me this in school? Why did my parents teach me this? Why didn't I learn this before I married the wrong guy or dated?
Why did I meet you 2 years ago before I wasted 2 years of my life with somebody? Yeah.
Exactly,
Mm,
because so what you want, first off, is ideally someone who shares your values, okay? Someone who shares your values, and not to suggest that most everybody likes we all value honesty, integrity, trust, that sort of thing, but more importantly, those core values. So if health is a core value for you, then dating someone who smokes 10 cigarettes a day and eats bonbons all day long probably isn't your ideal partner. Now, I'm just giving you a crude example, but certainly your ideologies and your values. Next, most importantly, is can the person you meet, can their lifestyle blend in with your lifestyle? For those of us in midlife, this is one of the most critically challenging areas in relationship, particularly because of proximity. When the further two people are apart physically, the harder it is to create continuity in a relationship. And more importantly, if your life is whatever it is and their life is whatever it is, women have this propensity, if we love each other, it will just magically work out. No, that's not what happens. Lifestyles have to be blendable. And most importantly, what I said a moment ago is around emotional maturity. Sadly, we are swimming in a sea of emotional dysfunctionality. The number one emotional health issue facing most humans is I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not likable. And sadly, dating triggers these wounds like nobody's business. And relationship skills, most humans have poor relationship skills. And I know every woman and every man thinks they are above it all. They're in the spectrum.
unicorn.
They're different. No, everybody, can I curse?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But
Everybody is fucking dysfunctional. It's just a matter of degrees. So yeah, this shrinks your pool of possible mates. In fact, I'll be candid with everyone watching. The likelihood for a success, the odds are absolutely against you. The real question is, how do I put the odds in my favor?
okay. How do I
Are
put
you
the odds in my
interested?
Yeah, I'd love to know how to put the odds in my favor. And those are some of the questions. It's how do I know if my standards are too high? That's one question we had is do I have to make more compromises now that I'm older?
Sometimes women have the most, okay, let me be candid with everyone watching. I coach women, so I just hear it from this one perspective. So if I'm articulating in this way, let me also say men are just as dysfunctional as women are dysfunctional, and their standards or expectations oftentimes are driven by our ego. For example,
Mm.
when a 5'2" woman says, I refuse to date a man under 6'2", that's not a standard, that's a ridiculous expectation, given that the fact that only 3% of the male population is over 6'2", only 15% of the male population is over 6 foot tall. I'm using that as a crude example as far as a standard or
No, but it's a
expectation.
realistic one. I know a lot of people who do that. Yeah.
It's
And not just because
well,
they are
common, but I don't like the word real. I'm only challenging the word realistic. That expectation sets you up for failure.
Mm.
Because a great human being might be 5'11" and 1/4 inch. And are you going to bypass that guy because they didn't meet this standard? And I'm being a little tongue in cheek with that
Oh,
analogy, if you will. So coming back to standards, I think being in that percent that attracts a quality partner, first you have to become partner you want. And if you haven't, and I'm here to beat on the drum, if you haven't looked at your childhood wounds and your adult traumas and really deeply healed them, you will most likely repeat patterns in your life. These patterns tend to be centered around love attachment style or something else known as the imago, IMAGO. This is what Harvell Hendricks and Helen Hunt talk about, where we choose partners similar to one or both of our parents because we have a wound that needs to be healed from that part in our life. Okay. So to get in the higher percentage first is become the higher percentage, both emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Physical health puts the odds in your favor. People that don't take care of their physical health are oftentimes rejected for that. And we met terrible at taking care of their physical health as they age. And I don't mean medical, I'm talking about physical from the sense of, look at, I've got a little bit of hypertension and stuff like that. As we age, we're going to have stuff
Right.
happen. I'm not
Right.
talking about those things. I'm talking about those things that are within your control versus outside of your control.
Yeah.
So become what you want. And then fix your broken picker because everybody has a fucking broken picker. Because we've been so indoctrinated in this belief that physical attraction leads to relationship success,
Mhm.
or successful and attractive people are the highest quality people. Now, I can tell you, there are a lot of fucked up actors and actresses in the dating pool, and you get to see their shit all day long. And just because they're successful and they may be attractive, they are poster children for dysfunctionality. So I believe we have to first work on that ego part that believes physical attraction leads to a relationship success. It's
Mhm.
important to be attracted to your partner, but that's not a guarantee for relationship success. Okay, I
Okay.
said a lot there.
You did, and I was weeding out some of the questions that we had based on that because, the chemistry thing is so important. A lot of people say, "Oh, we look so we're so good on paper, but we just don't I just didn't feel chemistry." And so that's so key to know that chemistry does not make a relationship necessarily. It's not everything. If that's the only thing and we're just so, like, into it and, "Oh my god, he's amazing," and yet there's
Well,
not.
I think we have to, okay, let's parse chemistry for a moment because when we're physically attracted to someone, we feel like we have chemistry. And yet I've observed that I've looked at hundreds, if not thousands of women in happy relationship, and nearly one third or more have said to me, and I quote, I wasn't attracted to my guy on the first, second, or third date. So as I explored that, there's actually other forms of chemistry that we oftentimes bypass, particularly in the area of emotional connection. That's a form of chemistry. Intellectual connection, that's a form of chemistry. Even people that have, thinking of men in particular, firemen, policemen, Navy SEALs, there's something about their protective nature that can be attractive, but they may not be your type. And then there's the creative people, artists, musicians, comedians, photographers, people that are or chefs that have this creativity with them. That can be very attractive, even though they may not be your type. So I think what's most important is to pay attention to what I call energetic chemistry and
Mm.
not physical attractionness, because I've been told men tend to fall in love through their eyes and women tend to fall in love between the ears. It's their head that needs to be stimulated. And yet, when I've noticed women hyper focus on looks, they attract, the James Bond types. They look good, but they are not relationship material.
Done that. Been there, done that. Yes, I agree. And so for someone who, says another question, which is related to this, is, she says she's 56 and she doesn't find anyone her age, any men at her age attractive. Is it okay to date younger men?
I can't, it's first the word okay. Sure, it's okay to do whatever you want. If I was a younger guy, I'd be dating nothing but older women. I would just be all over them. And let me tell you why. You get all the benefits. They oftentimes have a good high sex drive. They've got their act together. You don't have to worry about getting them pregnant. And you have an easy exit clause when you want to end the relationship. That is, I'm going to find someone I can go make babies with. So your challenge with dating a younger man is he has a built-in exit clause if he doesn't currently have children, because he can use that as a way to exit the relationship. So then the question becomes, why would a younger man want to date an older woman? I just gave you the reasons why. Do you want to take the risk?
Woo! That was a smoking answer. Whoa.
I'm
That
glad
was
I
really
actually thought I thought of that one on the fly.
that was really good. That was really good. That was really good. So another one I have similar to that is it okay for me to make the first move and and ask a man out today?
Oh God, you know what? Absolutely. There's this ridiculous narrative going on there. By the way, it used to be women drop their hanky. It was like they drop their hanky, guy pick it up, and they'd say hi. So why is that? But Jonathan, I'm being in my masculine energy if I ask him. I guarantee you, no man's penis shrunk to the point where he was so intimidated that he peed in his pants because you said, "Hi, I'd like to take you out for coffee." So I'm just sorry.
Love it. I'm like, "Hey, would you like to go for coffee?" And it's like, "No." Yes, that's how dare you ask
You
me.
have to be now here's the thing, if you're gonna take the risk of asking someone out, you better be prepared for what we deal with all the time, rejection. But I always like what Albert Einstein looked at rejection when it came to creating the light bulb. Every failure he looked as one step closer to creating what he wanted. You can look at it from the glass half empty or the glass half full. It's one
Okay.
step closer to getting what you want.
Okay, and this is I didn't have this question, but it just occurred to me when we talked about asking him for coffee or even dinner. Are there any rules for who should pay in today's day and time?
We've been indoctrinated throughout history with the expectation, and I really want to say that in gigantic letters, expectation that men are expected to pay. But let's think about this. Now, we can all say, Jonathan, men do the asking out, they should pay. Okay, I get that. But if two strangers meet, just because the guy initiates where to go and everything, that's not him really asking out on a date. Asking out on a date happens after the meet and greet, not before. The meet and greet is just connecting.
Mhm.
What concerns me about the expectation is it takes away from the generosity of paying. See, I'm a believer that if you expect someone to do something, then you've already come from a taker energy and not a giver energy. So I want to share a story that happened to me some years ago. I had a first date with a woman. We actually went to a dive bar of all places. And I ordered the first round of drinks, and I believe I paid with cash kind of thing. So it was time for our second round of drinks. And she pulls out her credit card and she says, I've got it. And I said, No, I've got it. And she goes, I've got it. And she goes, and I go, I've got it. And this went back and forth for a minute. Now I know every woman's hearing this goes, Oh my God, Jonathan, she's in her masculine energy. What she did next floored me. She put her hand on my arm, looked me straight in the eye, said, Jonathan, I really appreciated that you paid for the first round of drinks. Will you allow me to show my appreciation by treating you for the next round of drinks because you're worth it? Can you receive? And in
Mhm.
that moment, my chin dropped. I looked at this woman. I said, she could be a partner in my life.
Mm.
Be a partner in my life. What that one demonstration, I want to show you I want to reciprocate. I want to be generous to you because I appreciate what you did for me. See, I would like that to be the narrative when it comes to this conversation of who paid. And what was interesting, and while I wasn't able to go the distance with this person, our dating used to be like, it's my turn to pay. No, it's my turn to pay. No, it became who can give.
Mm.
And we just took turns, and I had a great deal of respect for her. So then I posted that exact story on a Facebook group of over 15,000 men, and over 1,000 men commented. Can you guess what the comments were?
No, I have no idea.
She's one of a kind. She's a keeper. She's a unicorn. Don't let her go. Women like that are rare because she wasn't coming from a place of expectation. She was actually coming from a place of generosity. So now, Matthew Hussey says if a man was raised right, he would pay. And if a woman was raised right, she would offer to pay. Certainly, in this particular case, I felt was obligated to receive in this case. But I certainly appreciate someone who makes the gesture because I wouldn't want a woman. I would want the woman I'm dating or the woman I'm meeting or spending time with treat each other as as much friends as instead of this dynamic that we've been raised with the expectations.
Okay. Okay. That's really great. I love that. And you just a keeper. That's good to know. Good tip, ladies. That's awesome. So along those lines, this is perfect timing. Someone says, I'm a successful woman and have done a lot of personal development work. I found it almost impossible to find men who are aligned with me emotionally and financially. How can I avoid attracting men who are projects, so to speak, or they're just wanting me for my money? Like I'm old fashioned. I'm always trying to pay their way or tired of paying their way. I'm always having to pay their way. That sounds like a
Well,
taker. But what do you do about that?
first off, if you know your pattern, it's like walking down the street and seeing a hole. If you know your pattern, stop fucking falling into the hole if you know your pattern. Okay. If you're really this successful woman, then let me ask you this. Do you practice the law of attraction in your business life? Why aren't you doing the same in your personal life? When you say, here's the challenge, if there's, if the story in your head is there's no good men out there, men are users, men are takers, men are commitment phobics, yeah, you'll attract more of that. You'll only see that. So what's the first thing to do? It's raining great men. It's raining great men. It's raining great men.
I love
I have a
that.
practice with my clients when they're on dating apps and they're swiping. Every time they swipe the direction they're not interested in, I always say to that guy, "I love you." Now, it doesn't mean I'm in love with you, but I'm sending you love. Actually, I apologize. I'm sending you love. I love you. I'm sending you love. In other words, send love with anyone that you're not interested in. You're wishing them well instead of, "Oh, I can't believe the guy had a picture of a fish. Oh, I can't believe the guy is standing in front of his Ferrari. I can't believe the guy is standing with
Yes.
his shirt off." Yeah. You're going to, if you are folk, if you listen, you can either be Eeyore or you can be Tigger.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but Eeyore is a drag. Tigger at least has got the right attitude.
I love that. I love that. That is so brilliant. And so I think we're on the
By the
same
way, I
line.
only yell because I'm passionate, by the way.
You are passionate. So right. It just makes it so much more meaningful. It sticks. It really helps us for it to sink in. So thank you
Yeah.
for that. I got one here is this was someone that I know well, and she asked me to ask you, how do I stay true to myself in the beginning of a relationship when I like a man while I'm still paying attention to any red flags? Real quick, there's another question that's similar. So I think that we can answer this at the same time. My friends keep telling me I'm a people pleaser and to stop relying on a man to make me feel good about myself. What am I doing wrong? How can I learn to love myself? So I think they're both tied together.
Wait, now you,
Okay, let's do
I've
the
got,
first
no, no,
question.
let's go with the first one.
Now, how do I stay true to myself in the beginning of a relationship and still catch red flags?
The thing about red flags is ask better questions. That's what a red flag means. A
Mm,
deal breaker is a solid no. If you observe a deal breaker, but to observe a deal breaker, you have to know thyself. Now, almost every woman's common deal breaker is I don't want to cheat her, I don't want to lie her, I don't want to blah, 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 blah. Like, of course, those are deal breakers. That's like the first equation in geometry. That's a given. But you have to ask yourself, coming back to values and lifestyle, particularly, think about those first. So, no disrespect to anyone watching this, but I suspect someone who is a die on the sword Donald Trump fan is probably not going to get along with a die on the sword Bernie Sanders fan. I'm speculating here, but I'm going to say 99.9% of the time that isn't going to work out. So you want to get a sense of your values and really focus on that, your ideologies and values, and find someone who's in alignment there for you. Now, with lifestyle, this is a critically important thing. This should be on your list of deal breakers. So, if you're an empty nester and you clearly don't want to be with someone who's raising children, then that's a line in the sand you must draw. But every once in a while, you see someone attractive, you're like, I'm going to bend my rules. And then you find yourself going, God, I wished I didn't bend my rules. Okay. The tricky part of red flags is emotional maturity. This is really the hardest one of all. Most humans are not qualified to really they're unschooled in human behavior to recognize wounded people. And so the challenge is has this is to really challenge people and pay attention to how they respond. So one of my brand new things I'm introducing to my community is before you ever meet someone, ask them these two questions. Do you want to get married and or remarried? And do you love the institution of marriage? Do you love the idea of being partnered with someone? Now, why? Now, some people say, I'm in midlife. I don't want to get remarried. I don't want to worry about financial things, blah, 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 blah. Right. I get that. Everything short of marriage is a casual relationship. Okay.
Ooh.
Marriage is a commitment. And if you're going to, by the way, if you're going to start having regular sex together, agreeing to monogamy and agreeing to exclusivity is a commitment. It certainly is. You know, spending time with family and friends is certainly a form of commitment. Integrating your lives together is a form of commitment. Even moving in together is a form of commitment. But at the end of the day, these are all things that can easily be exited from with little or no effort. And quite frankly, it can be done via text message, or worse, you don't even, the relationship is over and you just don't even know about it. Okay. I'm here to encourage everyone right from the get go, make marriage your primary question to ask someone. Now, here's the beauty of this. And I know all the ladies watching, Jonathan, if I bring this up, it's going to scare a guy. Exactly. You want to scare him. Or what you really want to do is find out who he is on the inside, because here's the problem we have today. It used to be hundreds and thousands of years ago. If you, for lack of a better word, used a person. And I don't mean that from an intentional perspective, but we'll say use, because a lot of people feel used when a relationship doesn't work out. The consequence was usually that woman had a big brother or father with a shotgun, and there was a consequence if you weren't acting in integrity with someone, your ass would be shot. Okay. There are no consequences for bad behavior. There are no consequences for unconscious human beings that take advantage of other people.
Mm.
So you have to be, I'm your coach. I'm your big brother. If I had a shotgun out, if you're on a first date, I'd have the shotgun out, point at the guy's face and say, what's your intentions with my sister? Why? Because that makes that person more intentional. And ladies, because you have a propensity to bond, because you have a greater propensity to value relationships. See, men's highest purpose is centered around their identity, their career, their purpose. Okay. Your women tend to, now successful women also have that desire and that drive as well, but that you tend to be more relational. You have a little bit more to lose because you bond with men greater than men bond with women. So asserting this intention early on establishes, is this person really going to show up with integrity by challenging them on these critical questions?
I love that. That's it's controversial in a way. A lot of people are going to go, "Wow, that marriage should be the priority." But I think it's that what you call a situationship otherwise, right?
You're either in a situationship or you're in a casual relationship. The fact is, short of marriage, everything is casual. I'm having a new awareness on this. I used to, and for midlife, I have to be a little bit tricky because living together with someone is a substantial commitment. There's no doubt about it. But why wouldn't someone want to get married? In other words, look, you get to a point, listen, you hit 50, 60, even 70. Do you still want to be, do you want to be in a casual relationship on your deathbed? Like at your deathbed, you'd want your partner there.
Mhm.
So what's going to establish partnership? Is it, and this is tricky because a lot of people partner with the wrong people, the dirty Johns, the Tinder swindlers, and the list go on and on. So this is why vetting this person is critically important. I said something earlier. We're meeting total strangers. In many cases, we know little or nothing about them. Okay. And unlike the past, everybody knew everybody. You couldn't fuck around
Yeah.
because your tribe, coming back to that consequence. I think of, if you ever watch the Jewish matchmaker or the Indian
Yeah.
matchmaker on Netflix, these are fascinating series. What I appreciate about it is the family is part of the decision making process before two people even go out on a date. Is that practical? No, but there's value in understanding why it's so valuable. That's the piece I want to interject.
Mm. because I think it helps hold them, others, the man accountable because he has to stand up. He's meeting other people. It's not just I can slip in and out. I love that. Now I'm going to
Well,
switch to
by the way, we got to be careful too, because there are plenty of Amber Heards out there too. And please forgive me, Amber Heard. You've been thrown under the bus, but that was of your own doing. So you got to take ownership of that. But there are a lot of dysfunctional women out there that are absolutely, please forgive me, batshit crazy. So we might have to do our due diligence too. Here's the thing about men in their 20s. Interesting. I'll share something with you. When a man's in his 20s and 30s, he's usually on the hunt for when he's decided he wants family, he searches for a wife. So he's very intentional. The problem with midlife is we have a significant divorce population. They're no longer on the hunt for a wife. The main purpose of relationship was to bear children and those children take care of you. When you don't have that motivation, and it's the Wild West. By the way, it's so easy to get laid for men.
yeah.
Online dating is literally a replaced prostitution, and that all it costs you a dinner or two.
Damn, damn.
I want to interject something else because I brought up the Indian matchmaker and or Jewish matchmaker. There's another show I want everyone to analyze, and this is called Love Is Blind.
I've seen that.
Now,
Score. Wow.
Now, why I'm sharing this is, and it starts off in a unique incubator. And if you're not familiar with that, I'll give you the clip note version. Is two people are in pods. They can't physically see each other. There's groups of people in different pods and they interact with one another and they start paring down through these interactions, paring it down to one person. And that one person, whether it's a man or woman, asks the other person to marry them through this 15-day incubator period or 10-day. And then they get to physically meet each other for the first time after this engagement. And then they go out and spend a week together on a not honeymoon, but a retreat together with the other couples. Okay. And then they come back and spend 8 weeks together in the same home. And then they have to decide if they're going to be married. Okay. Now, a little backward than we typically operate from, but what's the value in understanding this? You don't really know a person until you live with them. See, these relationships fail because they aren't good partners together. Okay.
Right.
Wouldn't you rather know this in 10 weeks than spend 1, 2, 3 years with a person? I've seen women spend years,
Oh,
finally move in with a guy, and within 6 months, the relationship imploded.
mm-hmm.
All right. So what do we take from this? You don't really know someone until you live with them. So what if we change the narrative a little bit? That's just a hypothesis I have. What if once two people like each other, they engage in a relation, they've decided they're going to explore a relationship, it's conscious, they agree to explore a relationship, they have to spend 2 weeks in each other's respective homes together within a month. They spend 2 weeks in their home, 2 weeks in their home, and see how well they get along.
Yeah.
It will accelerate the getting to know you period. Now, I know many of you watching, Jonathan, it's not practical. We don't live in environment. Yeah, it's not practical because you guys are doing long distance relationships. You're doing long distance dating, and long distance here in Los Angeles is 15 minutes or 10 miles away. That's
Yeah.
long distance. And you're spending years in this. Dating is like this convoluted or distorted friends with benefits dynamic, you know, and it's no wonder people aren't going the distance. All right, I'm done ranting.
I no, I love that. And I was thinking as you were saying that, my late husband, when we met, I was in my early 30s and he was just smitten and he was asking me out and all this. And I was okay. And I just wasn't terribly interested in the beginning. He was older than me. But then after the third date, I'm like, wow, this guy's pretty amazing. And I had just broken it off a 2-year relationship where I was engaged. And I lived with him on and off. Like I had my place still. And I swore I would never live with a guy again. Now,
Okay.
so I said, okay. So when he started saying, why don't you move in? I said, no, I'm never living with a guy again. Now I would go there on the weekends and bring my stuff and that kind of thing, but not like a full on living together. And we did some trips and things, but I said, I'm the only way I'll ever live with a man is if I marry him.
Okay.
And he asked me to marry him. And I just realized, snap. I think today we're thinking long-term partner. We're not really thinking marriage. When I had my matchmaking service, I was so shocked that 90% or more of my clients didn't want marriage.
Mm.
And I was like,
Women?
wow,
Women
women
or men?
and both.
Okay.
And this was a different country in Argentina. But what fascinated me is that they wanted that companion. They wanted that person to go to dinners with or go on trips with. They wanted that just that roommate type thing, that person that they don't want to have them in their life all the time, but they
Yeah.
wanted. And so this is the opposite. But then they're disappointed because no one's committed. It's like you can't have both. It's like you got to decide which one you want, really. So that was interesting. I just got that. That was a really cool insight.
The thing is, it's natural for human beings to want companionship, connection, and sex. Okay. You think about it. I want that companion you mentioned. I want some connection. I want that. Now, let me reword that. They want some companionship and some connection and some sex. Okay. Now, in many cases for men, it's I want it at my beck and call. Okay. I want it on my terms. Okay. And a lot of women accommodate that because they're holding hope. My God, if I just stick it out with him, he'll ask me to marry him. But
Hmm.
the problem is, and I'm only having this new awareness, 97% of people who engage in relationships probably won't work out the long term. I'm making up that number. But casual relationships, situationships, friends with benefits, all of these, they don't go the distance. It's incredibly rare. People who go the distance and die together are the ones who are married.
Yeah.
It's rare. I guess
Yeah.
there's Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell and all that stuff, but that is so far the exception. That is not the rule.
Mm.
And so think about that because, especially for midlife, the days in front of you are shorter than the days behind you, most likely, if you're over 50 years old, given that the average age of death is 79, 80. Even at 40, you're at the halfway mark. Do you really want to be back out there again and again?
No.
And I'm just suggesting an alternate way of looking at this and really valuing. Think about this. If you don't love the idea of partnership or marriage, if you don't love that idea, but you'll go in at it. I want companionship. I want connection. I want sex. I want it at my beck and call. So I want it sometimes. But where is partnership? And more importantly, where is trust? Think about this. Everyone, I want you to think about the word trust. Trust isn't about fidelity. Yes, that is important. Trust is, does this person have my best interest at heart? Do, do they put my interest at the same level they put their own interest? And do you
Mhm.
know what drama is? Drama is when you put your trust up here and their trust is there, and that space in between is called drama.
Ah, I'm gonna ask you that
I
question
just
about
made that
drama.
up, by the way.
Well, I was gonna say I'm gonna ask you a question about drama in a minute because that comes up a lot. So this is fantastic. This is really great. And so with that being said, questions that come up a lot I hear, is it okay? A woman asked, is it okay to be friends with my exes? Are men okay with that? Am I gonna be able to attract a partner if men today is that kind of is that modern dating? Is that what we people do? Is that cool?
Okay, we this is one we have to pick apart and unpack because we have to first define what does a friend mean, okay? My ex-wife and I are friendly to each other.
Mm,
I don't call her on the phone and actually I do because we both lost a child together, so we have this common bond and we have a relationship with our son and we sometimes get together and we have a chit chat every now. It's friendly with each other, but it's not friends, but I'm friendly with her. Now, I had a significant relationship that ended or I had a relationship after my marriage, and we were together for 6 years. She was involved with a lot of things in my life. We integrated with one another. And when we separated our lives, when we ended the relationship, we did a very conscious uncoupling. And we're friends. Okay. And now, when I say we're friends, we don't call each other all the time. She's in a relationship, she lives with someone. We don't sit there and talk about our relationships, but we're friendly to each other. Now, I had a new relationship that happened in my life. One of the first things I did is I introduced her to my friend, my ex lover, my ex girlfriend. I introduced that person because this is a person in my life. Now, if the person that is now in my life couldn't accept this person in my life because I see her more as a sister than I do
Right.
a past lover. If she couldn't accept that and there's an issue with her, I'm not gonna I have known this person for a hell of a lot longer I've known you. Okay. I know there's some potential here, but if you're intimidated by that, if you are threatened by that, if you are going to control that relationship, if I've been completely upfront, honest, transparent, then you really aren't the right partner for me. That's just how I view it. Okay.
Okay.
What causes someone to reject? Okay, so now let's get into your friends with an ex and your person you're with has a reservation about that. It's usually based on jealousy. Okay. We have to then get to the root of what caused the jealousy. Now, if you're in a relationship with someone and you're devoting a lot of time to an ex partner in a
Mm.
variety of different ways, you have a reason to have concern. That's a legitimate reason. Okay. And then you have to look at why is this person spending so much time with somebody? Well, it's possible they still have affection for them and affection beyond friendship. Okay. There might be other things going on, and that's a valid reason to be concerned about that. But truthfully, I respect people that can consciously uncouple and remain friendly to one another versus those that have combative relationships with other people or if especially if you're friends with someone who was unfaithful with you or they fell in love with someone else and you're still pining for it, you're a partner that's got more work to do in your life than and what you're doing is you're seeking companionship, connection of sex from someone else. I don't want you to fault ladies or men that are watching. If somebody still has an affinity for a previous partner, then let them go. Let them
Yes.
go to that other partner rather than cutting off the friendship. Let them just go after that other partner. That's my
Uh-huh.
rant.
Ah, okay. I love that. I love that. Yeah, because it's really about being friendly, and it takes to be highly elevated and mature to have that conscious uncoupling, and then to definitely share and reveal that. I know I was in a situation not long ago where I found out towards the end when we were talking about this very topic, and it was this person had dated a lot after his divorce, and he had tons of friends on Facebook that he never said anything about, and he was chatting with them all the time.
Yeah.
And it was like, that to me is like, not there's that trust issue there. I thought, wow, I was surprised. And
Well,
it was
that
important to him, but he never said
well
anything.
that
I asked, and I didn't know to ask. I mean, do you have to ask?
let's think about the okay, Facebook friends. I've got at one time I had 5,000 Facebook friends when I started my business. I've now pared that down to under 700, and I would bet for those people I don't even really know too well. So what is a friend? Okay. If a man or a woman is habitually talking to men or women, what the reason behind that is they're craving masculine or feminine connection. Okay. Especially if it's habitual, it's incessant and whatnot. It's because there's something missing within themselves and they
Mhm.
need this constant attention. See, here, sadly, in the United States, we are suckling on the nipple of, I need you to give me attention so I can feel good about myself. We are in such a dysfunctionality of individual self love, so all of these connections is because we're not connected with ourselves. So if someone has that propensity to do that, they're probably not a good partner anyway. So rather than making the issue, you can't be friends with other people that have been in your life, really examine how are they really interacting with this people. Now, here's a challenge. People aren't always truthful. Okay. This is a real challenge. Remember, I said we're meeting total strangers. It's incumbent to be a detective. It is incumbent upon you
Mm,
because you don't have a big brother there looking out for you. You have to be your own big brother or big sister looking out for each other, for yourself, excuse me. This is why I'm okay. Every dating coach will tell you never interview someone on a date. And I say, fuck that shit.
mhm.
Interrogate the motherfucker. Job is to interrogate them. Now,
Yes.
preferably before you meet them, because then when you meet, maybe if you have a spark of chemistry, you've already pre-qual. I do something in my private coaching called radical honesty, pre-qualifying your prospect. Okay. Just like in sales, you pre-qualify a lead. These are just leads. And if some, and by the way, I know a lot of
I love
high
it. I
profile
love it.
dating coaches will tell me how I'm wrong.
I
It
love that.
was okay. If dating was such a precise science, why are most people fucking miserable? And by the way, I apologize for all those people that don't appreciate
Oh, yeah, we love that. It's fine. The
my
audience is great.
expletives. They're just merely to enhance the sentence.
You
I
go
just
what
like
you go right ahead, Jonathan. Be you.
so to everyone that criticizes this, I'm here to say bullshit.
Yeah.
It's the opposite
Yeah.
because we don't have time to mess around. I know one woman who's had over 1,000 meet and greets in her life, 1,000 meet and greets in the 20-year span, 1,000 meet and greets. The average woman is meeting hundreds of men. I don't know what your numbers are.
Oh, it's pretty good up there. I have this thing I always talk about, and people love this one.
Funnel.
Dating's like a funnel. It's like you cast a wide net, you see what's out there, and you quickly determine there are ways to just because it can be. When I started my matchmaking service after my husband died, because I'd never been on dating apps, and we're going to go into dating apps now, is that I realized that everyone said, you should get on dating apps. I'm like, what is this? And it became a full-time fucking job because I'm sitting here, you're going to laugh. I created this, and I've heard other people do this since then, but I created a spreadsheet because I couldn't keep up with who said what. And then they'd unmatch with you. And you're like, because you'd be chatting on text or WhatsApp. And it's, oh my God, is this the John that lives in Fort Lauderdale or the John that lives downtown and has 3 kids? It's, oh my God, which one? So I literally had to take notes so I wouldn't forget who I was talking to. And I said, this is such bullshit. And my friend, a dear friend of mine said, Jill, you need a Tindervention. And so I said, you know what? My friend and I just sat down one night. She said, we should start a matchmaking service. I'm like, yeah. With a napkin, you write on the bar napkin, and it's crazy. I woke up the next morning. I'm like, usually those are terrible ideas. I woke up, I'm like, that's a good idea still. But it's because of how much time it took to weed through people and they chat forever. You don't, where's this going? And you don't have there's no basis. You want to be nice to everybody. You talk to everyone or don't. And I was speaking in another language when I was doing it. And my Spanish wasn't that good then. So it was insane. I learned how to speak Spanish from dating apps, by the way.
No,
Uh,
can I jump in on this for a
yeah,
second?
sure.
So one of the things I talk about in my private coaching, this interrogation, if you will, is I want you to think about it. You have to become your own matchmaker. Now, ideally, a good matchmaker, sadly, most matchmakers, they just pair up people because all they have is
Right.
bodies and they don't really know the person's values, lifestyles, and emotional maturity. Okay. Because a matchmaker typically doesn't have time to do the vetting. But ideally, what they've done is they've paired up 25, 30 criteria about who you are. And ideally, it'll put you together with someone who's also aligned with those things, ideally, and then hope that chemistry ignites the relationship. Okay. In other words,
That's subtle.
attraction.
Yeah.
That's how a matchmaker should do it, but they don't. Okay. Most of them don't. And I know everyone tells me otherwise, but I know the industry. They're
Yeah.
just pairing people up
You've got to
that
have a
got two
huge
bodies.
database to make that work. You really do. Yeah.
Okay, so with that said, your job is to really align this person, get a sense of who this person is. So by the time you meet, now this is challenging because with swiping and this and that, you're not really getting a lot of information. And then the kicker in all this is you meet and you're not attracted to one another.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's a kicker. But I think by making a person jump through a few hoops early eliminates those at the top of the funnel really quickly. And then maybe those people have passed a couple tests. And I say the word test, but jump through a few hoops. Then you do a little bit more interrogating when you on the I think the first phone call is the first date. That's the
Mm.
first date. When
Hmm.
you talk to someone on the first date, ideally have 1 or 2 dates on the phone before you do a meet and greet.
And a
Now,
video.
meet and
I
greet is
usually do
not
a
a date
video. What about a
or
video?
video chat. Right? Do a video chat
Okay.
because that's gonna right off the and by the way, you see, the problem is we make such quick judgments based on looks that a lot of people are missing out on a lot of good people because organically, it was a whole different ballgame hundreds of years ago. Now we make such snap judgments based on looks.
There's a paradox of choice, too many choices today. And I think that's so true. And I so want to do this. Maybe we can talk about this at some point. But men, and I always say, men, you are awesome and your profiles suck. Most of your profiles really suck because you're not putting your best foot forward. And I think we want to see pictures that are good just as much as you do. And so I'm going to get into this now because that's really
Oh,
some.
but okay, but Jill,
All
I
right,
look at
challenge me.
I will say
Challenge me.
99. 50% of women's profiles I want to throw up over.
Really?
And they
Okay,
all,
I don't know
by the
that
way,
much here to see the women, so I'd see the men.
well, and women have this, and oh my God, they argue for anytime I bring up why that photograph isn't good, they always say the same thing. I get a lot of likes on it, or I get a lot of this.
Oh, yeah,
Guys tell
because
me
it's tits and ass, and of course you're gonna get a lot of likes on it, right?
it's not just that. It's just that they're arguing for their limitations, especially when you've hired someone and you pay a shitload of money to get their advice. And yet they still, because our egos are so fucking fragile.
Mhm.
Most humans' egos are ridiculously fragile. And so
Yeah.
it shocks me how much garbage is on the dating apps from women equal to men. It is absolutely cool. Okay?
Fair enough.
Very few men put out a good profile, very few women. It's the percentages are identical of how poor they are on each side,
I'll
you
buy
know?
that. I'll buy that. And so along those lines, because we're talking about women specifically here, but I think you're right, it applies to
Oh,
both.
wait. It's important to know one thing though.
Mhm.
I think Tinder or Bumble did this study. Women only swipe right on 5% of men's profiles.
Really? Love
Yeah.
studies on that. I've done a lot of research on
I
that.
believe men swipe right on 60% of women's profiles.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Why is this critically important? Now, a lot of the narrative out there is women are too picky. Okay. Let's just say they're too picky. Men are not too picky. That's because men's who a man will sleep with is almost his pickiness is almost out the window. He'll sleep with most anyone. The movie Harry Met Sally identified this when he
Yeah.
said, "Can men and women be friends?" And he said, "No. Why?" Because because I want to sleep with them. And then Sally says, "What about the unattractive one?" He goes, "Yeah, you'll sleep with them too." Men who they'll commit to is even a smaller percentage than women who will swipe to. So the problem is, ladies, just because a guy swiped on your picture doesn't mean doesn't all it means is he'll have sex with you.
Woo! I love that answer. I love that answer. That is so good to know. That is so helpful. That is so helpful. And I'm just the 5% of women will swipe and then the men. Do you think they're more men or women? Is it about equal on dating apps?
I honestly don't know the
Okay,
answer
I'm
to that.
curious about that
They're
because a lot of times I'll hear men say, "Oh, they barely get it," over," and I don't know, maybe it's just friends that I know with like tons of them. Like you leave the app for a week or two, and there's 500 likes, and you're just like, "Where did this come from?" And I'm like, "Are men experiencing the same?" I'm just curious if
Well,
that's
women, keep in mind, women only swipe on 5%. So 95% of your male friends aren't getting swiped on. So what do you do to put the odds in your favor? Fucking killer profile together. Put quality photographs that puts the odds in your favor. Both men and women alike. Have a professional take your
that's.
photographs. Well, Jonathan, it's not natural. Look, I have photographers that can make it look so natural, you'd make your head spin. Okay.
I'm
And it's
100% in agreement
quality.
on that.
Yeah. And then there are services out there that can write your essay for you because it's not easy to write an essay about ourselves. What I did was I went and looked at everyone's essays and I go, oh, I like the way this person wrote theirs. Why not? I didn't want to say plagiarize, but why not borrow what they said? Oh,
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I think that's very natural to do that and to spend the time. And I think we're talking about pictures. And one question about that is a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, should I put a picture of me in a bikini because men want to see what your body looks like?" I would say, hell no. But what do you think?
I'd say, hell yeah, I'm a guy. Um,
Okay, let me rephrase the question. In order to meet with the goal and the intention of we're trying to find someone that is open to marriage and commitment, is that a good idea?
let's be clear. Your body is equally important to a man. Well, I don't mean to women, but that's a huge criteria. So if you put a photograph of what your body looks like, whether it's in a bikini, whether you're in a workout clothes, but something that tells me what your body looks like and not these angled kind of things. We have to own what our bodies look like, okay? Not a derivative of what your body looks like. See, a man will, okay, here's the thing. When a man only sees headshots, in the back of his mind, he's thinking, God, I hope, he might just reject you because he's afraid of what might be underneath. Okay. So you might get a date, but you might not get a call back ever. So why waste your time? put together the presentation of what you look like. And a bikini doesn't mean you're a low hanging fruit. Okay. That's a misconception. Now, if you're exaggerating your body and you're doing it to get attention, you're going to get low hanging fruit because you put out low hanging fruit. But I don't think a bikini in and of itself, if there are other quality photographs included.
Okay, I like that. That's great to know because I think I've seen a couple women have asked me for help with theirs, and it's a lot of times it's that really like provocative, like you said, the distorted, kind of contorted rather view and the other mirrors. And okay,
Well,
anyway,
because women have this thing, if he can't love me for who he am, I don't want to give him the time of day. Fuck, guess what, folks? We are superficial human beings. We can't
yeah,
get around that. It used to be when we met organically, we actually fell in love with who the person was.
hmm
Sadly, today, we are a predominant. I don't care. Look at, I'm a fairly enlightened guy. I've done a shitload of personal development work, and I'm still a petri dish sometimes of shallowness. Okay. That's just, I'm owning it. Okay.
I love
Not a
that's well,
completely shallow, but I'm can be superficial. It
yeah.
doesn't make me a bad person, I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. So I'm here's some great questions to dive in. What are the okay, what are the signs a guy is I'm going to go to that. That's pretty general. What are the signs a guy is ready for commitment and emotionally mature based on his profile? Because what we're seeing a lot of times as women is a lot of women they don't write any, believe it or not, most men or a lot of men don't write anything in their profile. They just have their pictures with some of the little tags that are pre-selected where you can find this, that, whatever my sign is, my political views, whatever. Or they may have one picture. How do we know what is it? How do we know someone's commitment
My
material?
dating profile, the first sentence was, "I wanna get remarried." That's a clear sign, okay, that I'm serious. That was the first
I
sentence.
love that. That's great.
Okay.
Clear.
Now, that's the exception, not the rule. By the way, it is virtually impossible to know based on someone's profile how serious they are. It's almost impossible because it's if you met someone in at the grocery store, you still that's all you have is a visualization of them and maybe what they wrote. Now, men are sophisticated here. Men are starting to wise up and start to tell you what you want to hear. So to women, okay,
Oh,
so this
wow.
fascinates me.
Oh my
A
God.
woman will say, a woman will say, I want a relationship. And they're on a first date with a guy and he says, I want a relationship too. And in her mind, she's thinking, I'd like to spend 3 or 4 days and nights a week together doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, both in our personal and our professional life, intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy that leads to either moving in together or getting married. That's what she's thinking. And his relationship is, I see her when I want to see her. Like, if you don't define what that word means to you, because it's just a word, and
Yeah.
the dictionary definition isn't as complex as I just outlined because your definition might be different than theirs. So finding out like what does a relationship look like for you? What does it mean to you? What does commitment look like for you? What does commitment mean to you? These are deeper words. Now, guys are getting sophisticated. They're now telling you what you want to hear. And then what do? They sleep with you and then they go, I'm not ready for a relationship. That just means but that's the risk we take. We
It
have
is the
to,
risk we take.
it's part of the dance, whether we like it or not, because there isn't a shotgun pointed at that guy's head to be in integrity. So you have to do your due diligence ahead of time.
Okay. So I had this
I'm having fun ranting.
me too. This is fantastic. This is great. And I'm just thinking of this relationship I was in where the guy actually, I thought, oh my gosh, this guy's mature. What you're saying, they're getting, and this is so shocking to a lot of women, is that men are just getting crafty at what to write in profiles. First of all, they don't write anything. That was the question is, what do you do? Do you just let him go or do you just take a chance? I'd like to know more about you. I like your profile because you don't know anything about him. It's like your pictures seem like you're a decent guy. I don't know. But going back, I was dating a guy for a few months and on his profile, he said that he wanted a serious relationship. He had it checked relationship. And even in his profile, it said, please be ready to date. I'm like, this guy's serious. Oh my God. He's got his shit together. He's all evolved. He meditates. He's in personal development. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow. And we had a great 3 months. And I'm like, hey, where's this going? Like, if at some point, what are you thinking? And we shared our list of what we had, and we were like everything. And he actually, here's a red flag I didn't read, I chose not to pay attention to. I had on my list marriage, and he didn't. He said, oh,
Wait, you
I
cut
had,
out.
yeah,
Say,
I had on my list marriage, and he said, oh, you know that I'm not really into that. And then he started to back off a little bit. And he was like, when I'd say, "Hey, where do you see us going?" He said, "Oh, let's just see how it goes. Let's just see where it goes." And that was like a big line. Let's just see how it goes. And I was like, wow. And I stayed in that relationship too long and
How
broke.
much longer did you stay?
It was almost 10 months. We broke up 3 times. 3rd time's the charm because I knew it. My intuition knew it, and I just kept going back for some reason because what got me was that first couple months or few that we were so into each other. It was like, what the frick happened after that? And I was holding out hope, and it was just so sad because this guy was probably never ready to commit. And I
Now,
told him,
let
"Well,
me
next time
ask you a
look on your
question.
profile."
Where did he live?
He lived nearby. He had just moved we lived relatively close. He had just
Okay.
moved up. He was new to the area.
Okay.
We moved cross
So
country.
men who are genuinely serious about long-term commitment know within 90 days whether or not she's someone he's willing to go the distance. I say this because every man I know that's in a happy relationship, they knew it early on. Okay. So the minute someone says, let's take it slow, let's see where this goes, you're not the one. Okay. You're
You,
not the one. You are not the
Jonathan.
one.
Yes.
Anytime a guy says, let's take it slow, let's see where this goes, you are not the one. You're the one filling the placeholder until someone else comes along. Okay.
Ah,
So you didn't ask about marriage. Shame on you.
no, I did. I mentioned it in
No,
my profile. It was in my
oh, I
I got
thought you said,
profile.
but no, you didn't talk to you. Okay. This is another thing. You just 'cause you wrote in the profile doesn't mean you
No, no.
shouldn't point blank.
I did, we actually had the conversation because we shared like we made lists of what we both wanted in a partner. And so when we started dating, we shared our lists. And on my list, I said I would like to be married again. And
And what did by the way,
he said,
so wait,
he said,
what did he
"Oh,"
say?
he said, "I don't know if I want that. I'm not really wanting to get
Wait a
married again."
minute. Did the penis get to go inside the vagina before you heard that?
Yes,
Okay.
I think so.
By the way, so to talk about it 3 months later, talk about this shit before the penis ever gets to go inside the vagina.
Great advice. Yeah. But I love what you said. This was something I combed so many books, YouTube videos, all these things trying to figure out, will this guy change? Will he change? And you just nap in a second just went, if he says, let's see how it goes, you are a placeholder for the one that will be.
Yeah.
Said another way, another relationship coach friend of mine said to me, you're his second choice. If you get back together, you're a second choice. And I'm like, wow. So it's similar in the sense of you're not the
No,
one.
you're still a placeholder
Mm-hmm. I love that
because, you know,
so
because
much.
it's like my son who played video games. He couldn't wait to get this one video game and he played it over and over and over again. Then he got tired and wanted another video game. He played that over and over again. But that one video game was sitting on the shelf, right? Whether it was Halo or Duke Nukem or Grand Theft Auto. And whenever they think they can just go on the shelf and play it, see, we men put you guys, you were put up on a shelf when it ended it because women have a propensity to go, oh, I'm willing to get off the shelf to jump back into this game with you, but it's already on the shelf because he's already looking for the next game to play. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry for being crude that way.
No, it's so helpful because we need that. We need that real talk.
See,
We know
it
that.
used to be up until 1960s, there was a consequence for having sex with somebody you weren't in a fully committed relationship with. What was that consequence, Jill?
Pregnancy, lots of things.
Yeah, pregnancy, children. There was a
We didn't have birth control.
consequence.
Mhm.
Now with birth control, there's no consequence for sex. And it used to be sex was coveted. And by the way, I am no prince here. I have been a slut for a huge chunk of my life. I was a serial dater. I slept with lots of people. It took a long time for me to find out who I am as a person, and I'm still evolving as a person. Um, at, at the same time, I know most men are unconscious. They're driven by their whether their libido or their drive for professional success. It's going to be hard to find a conscious human being for those who are genuinely serious. Put the odds in your favor and do a better job asking questions early on so you wouldn't have wasted 10 months. The hard part was for you, Jill, most likely, is you were attached to this person and then you doubled down on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
takes real courage to walk away. Either way, I would venture to say anything. Your intuition was speaking to you
Oh,
early on.
Yep.
It takes courage to listen to our intuition. And I'm guilty of this myself.
Yeah. I was told by a spiritual friend of mine, she said, Jill, he was one of your best teachers because I
Okay,
learned so
now,
much. That was so good. And I'm so grateful for that.
yes. And our every encounter we have happens for a reason, whether it's a
That.
season or a lifetime, or even if it's a short lived encounter. Every encounter is for a reason.
Hmm.
And the reason why some people have many encounters is because they really need to be beaten on the head to really get the message in. And I'm in that list.
Yeah.
So so I always invite my clients to ask themselves, what was really good about, excuse me, what positive things about myself did I learn in this experience? And I don't use
Mhm.
the word relationship, I say experience. Second, in the same venue, how did I heal from this experience? Lower vibration, lower chakra people tend to focus on victim consciousness and blame of the other person instead of saying, what was the gift in all this? The second part of that is, what was good about this experience? And more importantly, what am I grateful for? Gratitude is a powerful source to overcoming anger, resentment, and suffering.
Mhm.
Because most people end relationships, or excuse me, most people that have been in a relationship that has ended view it from a place of anger, resentment, and suffering. The person that did the ending moved on. They
And we're
ended
hurting
it, they
ourselves.
moved on. They're not suffering. You're
Mm,
suffering because because you've given your power away to another human being by making your happiness predicated on another person.
mm,
So the antidote to all of this, my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work, is a very remedial book. Remedial. It's first grade level because we all need to start back at first grade
yes.
and then elevate to the books that I recommend here.
And also your YouTube channel, like, which you have a vast amount of content. I'm just so excited. We definitely gonna put the links in for everyone to find your YouTube channel too. So that's amazing. I love what you said though too about this just being grateful. And I think what that big lesson was for me is had that never happened, I was still in that lower chakra, 3 lower chakras, that 3 that those energy centers of just and it helped me, forced me to really have to grow and evolve spiritually and really go inside. And I tell you, I learned to love myself, which I did not have that before that. I had to go and learn how to identify who I was inside and say, what's going on there, little Jill? What's happening with you? Are you okay? What do you need right now? And talk to myself and really nurture myself. And I can honestly say, because of that experience and working with and going to Dr. Joe events, Dr. Joe Dispenza and things like that,
Yeah.
that I am truly my favorite person on this planet. And I couldn't have said that a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago when it was. And it just, but that, so that's the gratitude, that's the gift. And so sometimes we have to learn the hard way, but it's just everything's meant to be. And yeah, it's really just transforming how we see that and just really expressing love and gratitude for the person as well and wishing them well, which we're
Esther
always there in the
Perel.
beginning.
Yeah. Do you know Esther Perel?
I do. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard her once say the most important relationship you're ever going to have is the relationship with yourself.
Mm.
And it starts with that place. And I think there's a misnomer that you have to love yourself to love another. I am, and it's certainly important to be loving yourself to be able to love another. Okay. There's this saying that we can only love from a cup that's overflown, overflown,
Overflowing.
I was flowing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think self-love is a journey that takes a lifetime to experience, and you probably don't fully actualize as a person who's loved themselves until seconds before you die, most likely. Okay.
Mm.
Are you on the path to growth? Are you on the path of healing? Are you on the path? Do you have a practice of doing work to heal childhood wounds and traumas and adult traumas? Do you have a path? Okay,
Hmm.
that's the one important piece. The other important piece, if you want to be in a relationship, are you fully committed to going all in with somebody? Okay, because relationships are our they're part of the healing process. And sometimes two people join together and one person is fully ready to go all in and the other person isn't all ready to go all in. And so what happens is if they choose to do the work to heal, problem is they can't do it with you. They have to do it on their own and then choose to be all in with someone who's also all in with someone. So that's why coming back full circle to why marriage is so important. See, I believe relationships are a container for our deepest healing and our greatest joy because life is better with company. Whether you like it or not, it fucking sucks being single. I love all the people say, I'm happy single, I'm happy single. You just told the universe you're happy and you're single. Okay? All right. So the universe is going to go, I'm not going to give you anybody because you already told me you're happy and single.
Mhm.
Okay. Or excuse me.
Re-
So I think you
re-
get the gist of where I'm
Remember,
saying.
yeah, remember the movement where everyone was saying, I'm marrying myself?
Yeah. But
That was like, but then that's the same thing. You're not going to attract anyone because
yeah,
you're into your
I
own.
have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you want to get remarried?
Yes.
Okay. How definitive are you?
100%.
Okay. Then I want you to declare right now, 6 months from today, you are getting engaged.
Wow. Okay. I declare.
Just make that
Getting
declaration.
engaged
I
in
want you to
6 months.
write it
Yeah.
on your calendar. Right now, you're getting engaged within 6 months from this date. So February 3rd, and from the day or whatever date that this is launched.
Yeah.
Okay. Set
Okay.
that date, set that intention.
Okay.
Okay.
I love
Now,
that idea.
because I guarantee you meet a guy who's aligned to who you are and what you want, and he is emotionally mature and you share the same values and your lifestyle is blendable. You meet him, he's going to want to do it within a very short period of time. Conscious, spiritual people who are really evolved, they don't need a long, protracted dating process.
That's what happened with my late husband. We were married
Okay.
in 5.5 months.
Yeah. And I said engaged.
But
So you're
we were
engaged.
engaged,
So
and then
just,
we were going on a trip, so we did it in that space time. But it was like we knew. When the other guy was engaged to us, there was always this hesitation, like I don't know. We never set a date. We had the right. It was like, and this one was just like boom. Knew what we wanted. He knew what we wanted. He went for it. I was into it. We were like, yep. It was so easy. It was just there was no question. It was like, yeah.
how
So
do you feel about what I just challenged you?
I am jazzed about it. I'm like getting goosebumps. I'm getting chills. This is yay. Yeah. I'm dead. I'll take that challenge. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm putting that out there. So that being said, I'm always asking myself because part of this was we talked about before is knowing what you want. Is the man qualified for the job? Is he qualified long term? Does he have the right standards? Do we have then the other one is who do I need to be to attract
Yes.
that partner? And that's what I have spent years trying to prepare myself for that. And so I
Well,
can need to
you know
okay,
what?
I'm not done. I need to keep looking.
Yeah, I like the way Esther says it. Esther Hicks. We're getting ready to get ready to get ready to
Yes.
get ready to
Yes,
get
I love
ready to
them.
get ready to get ready.
Yes.
It's that's why I said, who do I have to be? You have to be open.
That was one of my questions is how
Am
do
I
we stay open
open?
and not jaded? Yeah.
Yeah. Am I open? We have a society that is incredibly wounded and jaded, and all it takes is being open. I just invite you to open to this idea that 6 months from the day we recorded this,
Oh,
and I
I'm
hear
writing it
that
down.
call, Jonathan, you won't believe it. I met a great guy. And you
Yay.
know the difference. Whether it actually happens on that date or not, by declaring it first and foremost, you're actually putting a call to the universe. And you didn't make it a year from now. You're giving yourself time the next few months to meet someone, and you're giving them a little bit of time to get to know you. Okay.
I love that.
But you set the date,
Yeah.
and you
It's
can even ask them to marry you.
oh, that was there you go. That was the part of that other questions.
Now,
Okay.
here's an interesting
I
thought.
won't go into who
Here-
pays for the wedding. I'm just joking. That was like
Here's an interesting thought.
yeah.
We are traditionally speaking, it is incredibly rare for a woman to ask a man to marry him, right? It's
Yeah.
not part of the framework or because it's too masculine or whatever. That's bullshit. Um, Asking a guy to marry you, think of what that does. It declares the relationship. You really know how he feels about you in that moment if you do the asking. Think about now. I really want to really think about this. Like, because why is it that women, where you said this earlier, where's this relationship going? You're giving him your power. It's on
Oh,
his
snap.
terms.
Yeah.
And by the way, you ladies are bitching about the patriarch, and yet you subscribe to the patriarch by waiting for a man to ask you to marry him and expecting men to pay for dates. So stop fucking complaining about the patriarch when in the most critical phase of your life, you're waiting for the
Oh,
man to ask you. Ask him merely to get a temperature gauge. And guess what's going to happen? He's going to double talk you, and you'll
oh,
succumb to that bullshit double talk.
okay. What will he say?
I'm just not
What-
ready. I could see it in the whenever they say that is an excuse, you've already because you've already doubled down on it, you're gonna stick it out. That's the time to say, if you're giving me excuse, say, you know what, I want to wish you all well. I'm gonna move on. That takes fucking courage. To
Mm,
look someone in the eye and say, look, I love you, I care about you, but if you're not on the same page with me, then I'm moving on.
yep.
This is
Done
one of
that.
my boldest interviews, by the way. I
I
want
love
to
this. This is great. This is fantastic because it's just, I think it's really the questions that people are afraid to ask or they don't even know. And I love what, like, my whole theme of this thing and this whole channel is I want people to walk away saying, I can do that. I didn't know that was possible. And so you're really opening up some things that I've watched a ton of content, I've read tons of books, and you're answering questions that I've never heard the answers to in the way that you've answered them today. This is like first time here. You've seen it here first, some of these
Did
answers.
you ever watch Seinfeld?
Of course.
Okay, remember when George did the opposite of his natural instincts?
Yes.
He got the girl, he got that job, he got this. You see, the problem with dating today is everybody's following an old script. The script is so fucking old. It's passed down from time in memorial. Or did I say that right? In memoriam?
Memoriam? Yeah, I do.
Memoriam, excuse me.
No, it's
You know,
good.
we have all these traditional expectations, all these convoluted expectations. So my voice, coming back to what your channel is about, my voice is the contrarian. I'm here to offer an alternate way of looking at things. Just slightly, it's looking at a prism from the other angle or from the other side. Try things differently because if things were so great with what is being taught out there, then why are people so fucking miserable? Because it doesn't work. You are in charge of your relationship destiny, nobody else. So why do women habitually give their power away to men? It's because it's been passed down throughout your DNA. And I'm not here advocating strong, powerful women to be and to take charge. I'm here to say, take charge of your life because you
Mm.
can't trust anyone else but yourself to care about your best interest and find a partner that also you care about their best interest, but they also care about your best interest.
Yeah, I think at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
I've done it.
I love this, and thank you. Right, no, this was so great. I'm thinking of an interview I saw with Matthew Hussey, and I think it was Tom Bailot, and it's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
interviews, and they said, "You have to want your partner to win." And I think that's something that we often don't do. We're not thinking about that's going back to what you said about putting partners first, really taking charge and not being on defense is not just saying, "Oh, I'm waiting for him to do something." You're also saying, "I want the best for them too." At the same time, I'm going to tell them what I want. I want the best for me, but I also do want to have
Yes.
this interdependent thing. So,
When that
anyway,
woman said, can I show my appreciation
yeah,
by treating you for a drink? Can you receive? When we show up as givers in the dating process and not takers, sadly, most everybody is what can I get? Not what I can give. When two people show up as what I can give to each other, even in this experience, whether it works out or not, you're going to have an amazing experience. And maybe if we have enough amazing experiences, we won't be down on the process.
yeah.
Anyway, that's an invitation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. This has been so incredible. I hope we can do another interview soon again, maybe dive on on some other topics and things you're working on and appreciate you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for allowing me to rant. I love
Oh,
it.
this was so much fun. Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching today. Definitely check out Jonathan's channel.
Yeah,
Like,
there'll be
share,
a link somewhere.
subscribe. Yep, we're going to get all that. We'll get the website in there too and all of his social channels. So stay tuned for another episode soon. Look forward to seeing you again. Stay connected.